revival of the Beatles is only a little revival. It's not really like a tour or anything heavy like that. All it is that they're making a 10-part series on the Beatles for television, like a documentary about the Beatles story. And I suggested that if they had any bits of music that they needed, it might be a good idea to, for me, George and Ringo, to maybe make a fresh piece of music. It would kind of give us an excuse to get together, really, without a heavy pressure situation where people are saying the Beatles are reforming. Of course, when I said that, turned into a headline that the Beatles are reforming. But it's really, at the moment, we're only planning to do one piece of music.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brian May. Welcome to In Concert. Tonight we feature one of rock music's truly legendary artists, Paul McCartney.
Crash bang while I'm a rubber again. I got my eyes on the road and I'm feeling no pain. Find a real fine woman, heading to see her.
Plus the inimitable, excellent Guns N' Roses. Tonight it's no illusion, McCartney and Guns N' Roses.
What does it matter to you? When you got a job to do, you got to do it well. Got to give the other fella hell.
And now, ABC In Concert goes off the ground with Paul McCartney.
When you get to the new album, it's always exciting because you've hardly ever heard them before. The people out there have probably never heard them before, except unless something's a single that's getting heavy play. So it's always exciting to sort of watch them. I mean, we've done a couple of shows where we played the new things, and you see people trying to pick up the choruses, and by the third time they've heard it, they now know it and stuff. So it's exciting.
Crash bang while I'm a rubber again. I got my eyes on the road and I'm feeling no pain. Find a real fine woman, heading to see her. Try to say bye-bye, melancholy, listen to me. We've had a long, long ride, but it isn't the beat. Find a real fine woman, I'm heading to see her now. Get out of my way, get out of my life. I don't need anybody.
kind of album, just take it home and listen, and then listen again and listen again. And then your friends will, it's such a grower. I think it'll fulfill people's emptiness for music again.
ABC In Concert, brought to you by AT&T. We'll always be there with new ways to help. And Degree, the body heat activated antiperspirant.
The In Concert Artist Profile is brought to you by Wrigley's Big Red.
Paul McCartney is as dynamic an artist in 1993 as he was 30 years ago. He finds songwriting a thrill and a challenge. Paul has, of course, written some of the greatest love songs of all time. Yesterday, Here, There and Everywhere, Michelle. But don't forget that this is also the man who wrote Helter Skelter, Why Don't We Do It in the Road, and I'm Down. An incredibly gifted and versatile songwriter. Here's the latest from Paul McCartney.
I went up into the attic of our house just to get away from everyone. And there's a nice little trap door. You can sort of go up the little ladder and then close it, and no one can get at me then. So I know I've got a couple of hours to myself. So I did that, went up into the attic, and I took with me a Martin 12-string guitar. And just for a bit of fun, I put a capo on it. You know, that's the little bar that comes halfway up the string normally. And it changes the length of the guitar neck. So it normally makes it higher. And it always makes it higher, actually. And it makes it sort of, on a 12-string, it makes it very jingly and very sort of Christmassy, and always reminds me of a cathedral 12-string. It's jing, 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 little, nice little jingly sound. So that kind of led me into the plugging on this little riff, and the song Come On People came out. So I think of it as very 60s. I think of it as a bit Beatle-y, too. But whereas in the past I used to resist, I mean, in the more recent past, I used to try and resist any Beatle influences, thinking, well, you know, I've done that bit of my career, maybe I should now try and do something completely different. But then that means that you then deny some stuff that might have been very good. And, of course, you know, I've got a reasonable claim to the Beatles' style. So, you know, probably nobody out there is going to bother if I or George or Ringo do stuff in the Beatles style. So that's the way I left it. I thought, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to just say, oh, I can't do this and try and rewrite it, so I'll just finish it up. So I finished it up, and it became, I think, very sort of optimistic. So I rang George Martin up, and he was very sweet. He said, Paul, you know, he said, are you sure you want to use me? Because he's sort of almost trying to retire now, George. I said, George, come on, of course I want to use you, you know, it'd be brilliant.
Come on, people, let the world begin.
I think all of us thought, you know, is there life after the Beatles? And it's a tough act to follow. But as time's gone by, has gone by, I've rediscovered the songs, and instead of the sort of anger and the pain that we all felt, you know, when we were breaking up, I just like the songs now, and they're a pleasure to do.
Well, she was just 17, you know what I mean, and the way she looked was way beyond the bed. How could I dance with another? Oh, and I saw her standing there.
I've certainly got a tinge of the 60s and the anger of the 90s. The anger of the 90s is just being here and being, in my case, a parent with all this terrible stuff going on in the world. You know, if it's not ecology, it's wars. If it's not wars, it's disease. If it's not disease, it's the politicians not giving us what we want.
Big boys bickering, and so the game goes on and on. Big boys bickering.
Yeah, I'm not really a great swearer, actually, normally, but it didn't really bother me too much when it was banned. I kind of expected it because, you know, songs with that word in it are gonna get banned or pretty close to it. No, I don't use it that often in conversation, but I felt it was essential to the plot in that song. I think, you know, I'm like a lot of people. I'm not angry all the time. But when you see some of the things that happen in the world, you know, and if, for instance, like me, you're a parent, you just wonder, you know, how it's going to go with these kind of, for instance, just the oil spills, just little things like that, you know. And that kind of thing gets me angry. I think people like to hear people standing up for things like human rights, ecology, and some of the, you know, disasters that we got in the world. So I'll keep pushing them. If the government sort it out, then I'll sit down, because I don't really want this job. But it's just that I've got this attention from the media, so I feel like I ought to use it wisely rather than just fritter it away.
When John Lennon and Paul McCartney first started writing songs together in the late 50s, one of their early aims was to write a song for Frank Sinatra. Back then, that was the ultimate achievement for any songwriter. Paul said at the time it was one of those goals you just dream of. Later, one of those same type of dream assignments was to write music for a James Bond film. Well, in 1973, that dream came true. Paul was asked to write the theme song for the Bond classic Live and Let Die. The powerful tune that he came up with has 20 years later become a hit for an unlikely McCartney cover band. Here's Guns N' Roses live from Japan with Live and Let Die. You're watching In Concert on ABC.
There's been talk recently about you trying to buy back the Beatles songs off Michael Jackson. What's the latest on that?
You know, the story on that was that when John and I were kids, probably under the age of 20, we signed a deal, we signed a song deal, and we didn't know that you could own songs. It was a surprise to us. We thought they just were in the air. Couldn't see how you could own them. We saw how you could own a house. We couldn't see how you could actually own a song. And I think the publisher saw us coming. Said, good lads, come and sit in my office, you know, if that's how you think. And we got signed to probably a very old-fashioned deal, pretty much a slave deal, which I'm still under to this day, you know, even though my argument is it should have been varied a bit because we've been rather successful for that company. But what happened was Michael was able to buy it because it was just up for sale on the open market. And he had a lot of money after the record Thriller. And in actual fact, I advised him to get into music publishing. And he said to me, I'm going to buy your songs. And I said, oh, good joke. I thought he was joking. Someone rang me up and said, yeah, he's bought them. So that's that.
Now a special home video offer from ABC In Concert. Here's a way for you to see more of your favorite artists who have appeared on In Concert without trying to make someone figure out how to set your VCR.
Parental discretion advised. Contains explicit language.
Stop borrowing your friend's in-concert video collection with no intention of returning it.
Order now by calling 1-800-CALL-ABC. In-concert viewers pay only $34.98 plus $3.95 shipping and handling. Tax where applicable.
This is ABC.